Something like this caused me to spend 8 days in the hospital.
When doctors couldn't get to the bottom of his stomach pain, they needed to operate. And after the man woke up, they had one big question.
Do you grill?
The popular grilling accessory that could have killed him. And
I was upset, and then I became angry. I was very angry.
delivery man or porch pirate. A woman says her home security camera caught one man in the act.
That could have been medication, somebody's medical supplies.
The online marketplace she used that's getting more popular by the day, and how it responded to seeing her video.
From the Fox 6 studios, this is Open Record. I'm Brian Polson, and I'm joined this week by Contact 6's Jenna Sachs. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, Brian.
And as always, by Open Record's executive producer, Sarah Smith. Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
We are recording this episode on Wednesday, May 15th, for release on Thursday, May 16th. My brother's birthday, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday to Tom. We have a couple of really impactful stories today, both with compelling visual elements. So if you're listening to the podcast by audio, I encourage you to also seek out Open Record's video podcast on YouTube or the Fox Local app on your smart TV. The first story we're going to talk about is kind of literally a stomach turner and a warning for grilling season that really caught my attention. We're going to talk about that right after the break. So a Kenosha man wants to warn others about the dangers of a common grilling accessory that could have killed him. Wayne Ramchek spent 8 days in the hospital. He had surgery. He spent 7 weeks in recovery, all because he wanted to have something on the grill. Tell what happened here, Jenna, because I saw this story and it's kind of hard to watch the story without going, oh, like that could be me.
Right. It's incredibly relatable. I know so many people with these products. I had it at my house, and my next door neighbor told me he threw his out after seeing this story. So Wayne grills a lot. He's the kind of guy that grills twice a week, all year long, even in the winter, which is when this happened.
That's a Scotty.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He said he's brushing the snow off the grill. It doesn't stop him. So it started with some stomach pain. He didn't know he'd swallowed this item. That's what happened. It was a bristle from a wire grill brush, and he was in pain for about a week. It got worse over time. He started calling in sick to work at the hardware store where he is employed, and then he got a fever, upwards of 102. He tried to stick it out for a couple more days, tough it out, but eventually he went to the emergency room at Frederick South Hospital. They told him they wanted to keep him overnight. They did an ultrasound, and they could see an infection in his intestine, but they couldn't see the cause of it.
So he still has no idea at this point what has happened.
Nobody knows what's
they're
happened.
trying to figure it out,
They're trying to get to the bottom of why he's in pain, why he has a fever. He has this infection. At first, they give him antibiotics. When those don't make a difference, they decide to do a surgery where they basically go in and look for the cause of the pain. And it could have been a number of things. He was prepared for maybe a tumor, maybe cancer. They talked about diverticulitis, which is like it's like a bulge that can get inflamed in your intestine. And when they started the surgery, it was done by a doctor, Dr. Maya Jindali. He went in there and basically spotted it right away.
What did he find?
Well, we have pictures of it if you want to see it on
that's why I said you gotta look at
The story's
fox6now.com.
there,
Yeah, see the story online or go to watch the video podcast because
It's interesting for sure. So basically, he found it punctured or pierced through the side of his small intestine. So half of it was on the outside and half of this bristle was on the inside.
And the single bristle.
A
Just
single
one wire bristle.
One little bristle that was causing Wayne a lot of pain. And the doctor had a feeling that it was a bristle, but it was also February and he didn't know if they were grilling at home. So he said he used an instrument, he grabbed it and pulled it out like a string and put it in a jar and had some questions for the family afterward. But at the same time, he said we couldn't see the hole. It was too small, so we had to remove 4 inches of Wayne's intestine and then put it back together. He actually called this a minimally invasive surgery. It was actually done in about an hour and 15 minutes, but he lost 4 inches of his small intestine to a wire grill bristle.
Thankfully, your small intestine is very long.
Yes.
Right. I know there's a lot of real estate there, but wow.
Right. But the doctor even said, I said, does this stand out in your memories of things you've seen? And he said it's probably in the top 3. He'd never seen a wire bristle. He'd heard about it before, but he'd never seen it for himself.
You were talking about this beforehand. You said I kind of love surgery stories where you found like some, because we all just there's a fascination with seeing X-rays and seeing something on the X-ray, like someone swallowed a hammer or something. You're like, how did that happen?
Wait, what?
Right. This one, he didn't know. That's what gets me. He had no idea he ate this.
So wire bristle brushes that you use to clean your grill with, they're relatively sharp. Right. I mean, they're used to clean all the little gunk and that gets burnt on all the grates. So he didn't feel it. Clearly, he didn't know.
No, he pieced it together later based on when the pain started, what had happened. But basically, he decided to grill a couple of steaks in late January. And once the grill was hot, he did what he always did, which was he got out his grill brush, a wire brush, and he cleaned the grates. And he says he didn't taste it. He didn't feel anything unusual in his mouth when he swallowed the bristle. And that made it so confusing trying to figure out whether this is just normal stomach pain or something worse. And by the time Dr. Jindali removed it, it had been in his body for 2 weeks. Isn't that just amazing to think about? And it could have killed him. The doctor said, yes, absolutely,
so
this could have killed him.
He obviously swallowed it and didn't feel it, like it didn't get lodged in his throat.
Right.
Which is what can happen,
And it didn't do anything in his stomach. It was when it got into the small intestine that it finally got somehow turned and then
I'm assuming. I don't know if he felt the pain anywhere else, but I think that's when it got sharp, was probably when it started to pierce the side. But there are other reports out there that you can find of these bristles getting lodged in people's throats, in their esophagus, their stomach. It can pierce your respiratory tract. There's all sorts of horrible consequences that can be had from swallowing these. And sometimes when it gets caught in your throat, there's like a soft patch of tissue there. Often it will get caught behind there and you can't even see it, but you feel this pain. So there's countless reports of issues with these brushes.
Do the brushes themselves have a warning on labels?
Yeah, so I went into a hardware store and I looked at the wall of brushes, and they have tags on them that basically say, if these bristles become bent or broken, throw it out immediately, get a new brush. And it also says, check the surfaces of your grill before you cook, check your food. But at the same time, Wayne wants these banned for obvious reasons. He thinks that they're a danger. At the very least, he wanted to do this story to let people know, hey, this can happen to you. He wanted to raise awareness and say, he said, hey, if it saves one other person from this pain, it is worth my time.
Is this something that is common enough that the Consumer Product Safety Commission or others are looking at this and tracking these things? Or are we just hearing about these very occasionally? How common is this? I mean, if there's tags, it must be a known problem.
I would think so. I know we do a lot of consumer reports, and I know they are very aware of wire grill bristle issues because we report on them every year through the information Consumer Reports provides us. And actually, that's how Wayne contacted me in the first place. He saw a Consumer Report we had aired a couple of years ago online about the dangers of wire grill bristles. And he reached out and said, hey, thanks for running this information. This actually happened to me. And I said, please tell me more, send me pictures. And then we set up the interview because I had never interviewed someone who'd had that experience before. I talked about the dangers on air, but I'd never heard firsthand what that's like.
I mean, there's a lot of issues and consumer complaints that are very relatable for people. But when you brought this one and talked to me about it, absolutely, we need to go talk to him because I feel like, especially in Wisconsin, we love to grill. It doesn't matter. Like you said, winter all the way through, tailgates, people like to grill. So this could affect a lot of people because the first thing I did when I got home, after knowing that you were doing the story, I made sure that our brush wasn't the kind that had the little bristles on it.
I just cleaned my grill. Like literally
with one of those?
With a wire grill brush?
With a wire grill brush.
Yeah.
So now I've got to go and inspect it and all that. But first of all, I thought about bringing it here today and like to make a television moment out of it to just chuck it in the garbage.
Yeah.
What do I do now? Like, what are the alternatives to using a wire brush? Because I always use one to clean my grill.
You're not alone. I actually went to the FOX6 grill on the weather deck. We have 2 wire grill brushes out there. So just for the record, next time we barbecue at the station, check your food. But there are alternative products. So I went to a place called the Barbecue Supply Company in Greendale, and they sell all sorts of barbecue products and spices and so on. And they have never sold these bristle brushes because they say it's a liability. They say it's dangerous. They don't believe in them. So they sell alternatives. So you can get brushes made with organic materials, made with nylon, plastic. There are sponges that
I immediately hear that, by the way, and I wonder, do those work as well? Like, is nylon going to clean my crusted up grill?
He
in
admits that
January?
they actually don't. So he said the best option he's found is it's called a grate scrape. It's a wooden paddle. And when you use it on a hot grill, it kind of creates grooves in the wood and it forms to your grill. And he thinks that's the most effective. He said another perk of that is once the bottom gets a little too worn down, you can actually cut it off and keep using the same paddle over time. But he also said, there are just alternative products that you could use.
Well, one of them I saw, I think you had in your story, was I had never thought of it, was like a steam.
Yeah.
Tell me how that works. I saw it, but I wasn't quite understanding what.
So it's like a sponge that gets wet. Wayne actually uses this. Someone brought it to him in the hospital as a gift. So when the grill is hot, you put the
so you have to heat up the grill too. Okay.
Oh
That's
yeah,
where the
that
steam
one
comes
you
from.
use.
Makes sense.
That
Okay.
one you use hot. But the owner of this store actually said the reason we've never carried these products is because we have a friend who swallowed a grill bristle and it got lodged in her throat and she had to have it surgically removed. And on top of that, the wife of the man who owns the store is a nurse. And she's worked with doctors who have removed these bristles before, and she thinks they're unsafe. So those are just two reasons they said, we don't even want to go there. There's other products that you can use. And at the same time, he said, there's a lot of talk about getting your grill clean, but sometimes you know how you don't clean the pan? It adds to the flavor. He said there's something to that. You don't have to be meticulous about cleaning your grill. There is something to the idea that it adds to the flavor of the meat.
I was always one of the don't clean my grill people, but then it builds up to a point over time. You go, okay, I need to clean this finally. But I never would have thought of not using a wire. I will never use a wire one again after seeing these pictures. And it makes me wonder, is he back to grilling? Because after an experience like that, you said he loves grilling, but I would think that would make you a little weary of grilling again.
He was, certainly. He said he put it off for a while, but it's such a part of his lifestyle. It's the food he likes to eat. He likes how it tastes. So eventually he went outside, gave the grill a thorough cleaning with his new brush, and then he began grilling again. And he mentioned his neighbor saw him and was like, you're doing it again. I see you can't stay away. But he feels comfortable doing it now. But it took some time because this was obviously very disruptive to his life. He was out of work for several weeks and was in a lot of pain. So he wanted to share his story. Just to say,
did
hey,
he go back
think
to
about
his
it.
hardware store and check their grilling accessories to make sure they did no wire bristle
Well,
brushes?
he works at like a major hardware store,
Okay.
so they sell these products there.
Yeah.
And he said when it happened to him, there were actually a lot of emails going around the company saying, hey, just for your information, here's a cautionary tale for our employees to be aware of. And he said they joked about putting a picture from his surgery.
I wondered about like the container with the thing
On the
taped on
wall.
the
Just like
inside,
a
just posted
jar.
up there on the shelf.
Could you imagine if you're in the store and you're looking at these brushes and Wayne walks over and says, hey guys, let me tell you a story before you pick out a brush.
And you set it back up on the
Yeah, exactly.
walk away. Well, speaking of good video, there again, go check this one out because it's really interesting. But this next story we're going to talk about also comes with some pretty interesting video, and it involves an online marketplace that is skyrocketing in popularity right now. But it comes with a big warning. We're going to talk about that right after this. All right, so this next story involves an online marketplace that's really becoming popular in a hurry, Jenna. It's called Temu.
There's a lot of debate about that online, so I understand why
we
you
talked about it once on the podcast a few months ago, and I
Yeah.
remember Amanda saying, wait, to what? What's that called?
I
Yes, Temu
asked the
is-
company, they said it's called Temu,
Okay.
but if you look online, all the influencers are saying Temu, so I understand.
All right, so this involves a delivery man for one of the companies that sells on Temu, right? Who seemingly took a woman's package from her front porch while he's making a delivery, and you've got video of this whole thing. What does the home security video show?
So the security camera is on Dawn Welty's front door in West Dallas. It basically has a whole view of her front porch. And the video shows on March 31st, a delivery man walking up to her door. He places a package by her front door. He takes a picture of it. She got that later on her Temu app as a confirmation that the package was delivered. But then what happens next is you see the delivery man look around and there's an Amazon package that she hasn't picked up yet, sitting back further on the porch. He picks it up and walks away with it, which to her is an indication that he stole it. That's what she thinks happened. And he took another picture for Temu at the bottom of her steps after he was walking away, showing the whole porch. There's the package he delivered, and the Amazon package is still gone. So it's not like he picked it up and put it back down in a different place. So she was pretty frustrated when she saw this, she thought the audacity of this, right? I have cameras everywhere, and he thought he could just walk away with my package. So that's why she reached out to us.
Well, and then what was in it? Because I know sometimes things get delivered and it's a simple pack of pencils, but sometimes people order things that they need that might be a health necessity.
So for Dawn, it was about $60 worth of her supplies for her work. She ordered a headset and a wrist rest for her job.
This is the stuff she ordered from Temu.
She ordered it from, actually, this is the stuff that she ordered from Amazon
that's
that
what
was
sitting there in
stolen.
the package.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what was taken. She actually reached out to Amazon and explained the situation, and she wasn't expecting them to refund her, but they actually resent the items. So she's not out that money. For her, it's more about the principle of the thing and the experience she had when trying to speak with the delivery company and, try to get them to take some accountability for what happened.
By the way, on a side note, the name of this delivery company is one of my favorite names.
Yeah.
Piggy Ship?
Piggy Ship.
Piggy Ship. It's the delivery company. It's not Temu necessarily itself. It's a delivery company that was selling delivering this item for Temu. Is that right?
Right. So if you're unfamiliar, Temu is a discount online marketplace, kind of like Amazon, but the items, I'm told by the people who use it, are generally less expensive. They're often coming from China, and they're taking longer to arrive. So you're getting a better deal. It's actually a very popular app that's being downloaded right now on iPhone. It had a Super Bowl ad this year, and it really showed up in the country a couple of years ago. It's been around longer than that. It was originally owned by like a Chinese billionaire. So that's how it came about. It has a headquarters now in Boston, but really it's new to the scene and it's growing in popularity. And what they do is they don't have a shipping system like Amazon does. They work with a number of different shipping providers. So that could be USPS, UPS, FedEx, but it also includes places like Piggy Ship, which is how Dawn became familiar with this company through this story. She looked on her app. She saw the delivery notice. It said the time. We get these notifications. Your package has been delivered. And she saw in the corner, it said delivery provider Piggy Ship. She'd never heard of them before.
I know with Amazon, you have individual sellers who actually become Amazon sellers, or they sell on the Amazon platform.
Sure.
But they are their own individual business. Is Temu like that? Or is Temu actually the one you're buying the items from? Or do you know? I don't know
I'm not
how they
100%
operate.
sure how it compares to Amazon, but I would have to imagine they'd work with so many different, their inventory is extensive. It's like Amazon. It's got furniture, vitamins, clothes, sneakers, like everything that you would imagine on Amazon. It's very similar.
But what kind of response did she get to, here's this video showing him pick up my package and walk away. How did Piggy Ship respond to that?
She wasn't particularly happy with how Piggy Ship responded. She called them up, she sent them the video, and she said at first they apologized and they were listening and they were responsive. And then she said, I might file a police report. And she said they hung up on her. So she wasn't thrilled about that. And when we looked into Piggy Ship, we found they did have a history of complaints with the Better Business Bureau. It's based in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles area, and the BBB out there gives it an F rating, basically saying we have a pattern of complaints from customers who say our packages went missing, they were never delivered, and then on top of all that, their customer service was not good. And that's what the BBB often cares the most about, because often it gets complaints about major retailers, but when the company responds to the complaints, it shows that they care and that they're trying to rectify situations. Piggy Ship has been ignoring the BBB's complaints, thus the F rating. I will say Temu has a better BBB rating. It has a C+, but it responds to the thousands of complaints it's received, which shows that it cares about its reputation. So its rating is not as bad as Piggy Ship's.
Now, did she show the video? I assume she showed the video to Amazon. Is that what?
I don't remember if she just told them about it or if she showed it to them. I know she showed it to Piggy Ship.
Okay, that was my other question.
Well, I'm looking at that comparison because you've got Amazon resending items that it's not even responsible for her having taken. Somebody else took them. She's got video of it. How did Piggy Ship and or Temu respond in terms of making good on that? I know you said she wasn't happy with Piggy Ships. Did Temu step in like Amazon and say, you know what, that's on our platform, we'll do something about it?
Right. Yeah, she kind of rolled her eyes at Piggy Ship initially because they said something like, we'll get your package returned, which she was like, how would you do that? I ordered it from Amazon. But Temu basically sent us a statement saying, we're deeply concerned about this incident. They thanked us for bringing it to their attention. It said it's working with PiggyShip to conduct an investigation and it will take action based on what they find. And it did call the behavior unacceptable. And it said, we do vet our delivery partners, but this really highlights the need for continuous monitoring, improvement. And it basically says, we stand behind our customers and we regret that this happened to Dawn. So she was happy with that response, I believe. But, it's different from what we got from PiggyShip, which was nothing. I mean, we reached out to them for comment and they did not respond to us.
I'm kind of an ultimate skeptic. And when I hear we vet our the people who do shipments, and yet we know they have an F rating with the Better Business Bureau, how deeply are you vetting them? Because they've got this F rating. To me, and I know you as someone who does all of this consumer reporting and investigation, that's a huge red flag. If I were looking at who do I trust and I see, PiggyShip's going to deliver this, should I trust them? Well, based on that BBB rating, no.
We did speak with the BBB in Los Angeles for the story, and they did say, we hope that Temu takes a look at this provider and encourages them to at least improve their customer service. Basically saying, hey, we are okay with Temu. The guy I spoke with for the BBB in Los Angeles said, I'm a Temu customer. But he said, I don't support them using PiggyShip. I think that that's a warning sign, what the people have been experiencing, what they've been complaining to the BBB about.
Did Dawn ever file a police report?
She did not. So she was thinking about it, but because it was replaced and because it was $60, she's figuring the police have a lot more to deal with than my package delivery. So she did not.
Was she going to order from them again? Right. Kind of
It's a great
the
question.
Barb thing.
Yeah. Do I trust them anymore? Yeah.
Does she delete the app or is she?
She did say, I don't feel comfortable shopping from Temu anymore just because she doesn't know who the delivery provider will be.
Well, like so many consumers do, Dawn came to you for help, obviously. Many consumers also go to our state government. And after the break, we have a special guest who's going to join us here on Open Record from the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. And we'll bring her in right after this. As we have told you many times, Contact 6 takes consumer complaints about businesses, but so does the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. And Jenna, would you like to introduce our guest who's joining us?
Sure. So Michelle Reinen is a regular source for our Contact 6 reporting. She is the administrator of the Division of Trade and Consumer Protection, which you've mentioned is part of DATCAP. And what they do is they also take business complaints about everything from home improvement contractors to telemarketers, landlords, and they work toward resolutions for consumers. We often tell people to file complaints with DATCAP as well. So one thing they also do is they track consumer trends and scam reports. And that's one thing we'd like to talk with her about today. Michelle, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for our ongoing partnership. We just love the connection and being able to reach out to consumers, and you're a great resource for that. So thank you.
Well, thank you to you, too. One thing I wanted to ask you about today, which DATCAP has recently spoken about, is the issue of check washing. That's something we hear about quite a bit in Milwaukee, where a lot of people leave their mortgage checks in the blue receptacles on the corner in their street, and these can get stolen. It seems like it's not a new crime. It's probably been going on for a long time, but is it high tech? Is it easy for this crime to occur once the criminals have your check?
Yeah, actually, it's a low-tech and a high-tech crime. I mean, the first stage is getting the check from people, and that can be really low-tech because it's just stealing it from your mailbox, especially if you leave it in the mailbox with the flag waving high as a sign to say, hey, come get me. I'm waiting here with my outgoing mail. But we do see two different variations of this scam. One is where the scammer takes the check and then uses chemicals to wash and remove the ink. That's where the check washing aspect comes from. But then there are more advanced operations that no longer wash the check. They just create a new counterfeit check based on the information, that check number, those routing and account number information. And they replace the payee name and the amount that you have written in. So now the check is going to go to somebody else, the scammer, and it's going to be for a very different amount. And this can have great impacts on the consumer.
I know banks are more and more sophisticated about the security measures they build into things like checks, and obviously the U.S. Mint building those things into dollar bills and things like that. But are these scammers that sophisticated with their sort of recreation systems that they can create checks that are fooling banks too?
Well, we see all the time where people are creating their own checks. They're not ordering checks because you can create electronic checks. You can create checks now, and you just need those details and information. And there are fake check scams all over where the banks are having a hard time recognizing that they are fake checks, where they're misaligning information on a check until it doesn't clear. That can take days, a week where the check doesn't clear. And by that time, the consumer can be out their money if they've, written a check of their own because they've tried to deposit one of these fake checks. Well, the same thing can happen with this check washing situation where the consumer would be out their funds that way. So we want people to be cautious and aware that this happens so they can take preventative steps and try and have awareness and keep their accounts safe. I mean, one of the impacts that consumers can have with this is, one, the bill that they intended to pay doesn't get paid because now the pay's been changed and the scammer has your check. But the other impact is if you have overdraft protection and they've changed a $100 check to a $10,000 check, your savings account is covering that changed amount, and that can have significant impacts on an individual's savings account. And if you don't have overdraft protection, now they've cashed a check that overdrafts, and you'll have all those fines and penalties that can go with that aspect of overdraft to your checking account.
Now, with there's mobile banking, obviously, and there's other pay exchange like Venmo and PayPal and stuff. But, and that I think a lot of people of maybe a certain age group tend to use some of those more digital ways to move money around. But we all have family members, parents, aunts and uncles, maybe even grandparents that are still very religious about writing checks and sending checks through the mail. So, what kind of can we do? And then maybe some information we can pass on to those people that we know write the checks. Literally, how can we protect them from becoming a victim?
Yeah, so one thing you can do is recognize how you send the check. Don't just leave it in that mailbox with the flag up. Get to the post office, walk inside, say hello to the individual, and throw it in the mail that way, or use the blue box that's right outside your postal location. The other thing is if you are leaving the house for vacation, is to be sure you put a hold on your mail, because we've certainly seen where checks you receive are intercepted, not just the ones that you're sending. So be sure you put a hold on that mail, and that if you aren't putting the hold, you're having a friend or family member retrieve your mail, that they are dedicated to doing so, and they're not going to let it stack up a day or two and then get it every so many days. They're getting it every day. And same with you. Get out there every day and get that mail out of the box as quickly as you can. But the other step, it's not foolproof, but banks are recommending it, and different organizations, is to get yourself a gel pen. You will see on packaging now that certain gel pens will say prevent against check washing or ink washing. And these pens can't be washed away using the chemical method. And so write your checks using this gel pen. And if you don't have one, go purchase one and just keep it with the checkbook.
They actually say on the
so
package.
smart.
They say on the
That's a great
packaging
idea.
that it's a certain kind of. Is it all gel pens, or are there particular gel pens that will say this?
I'm not going to get into the science because that's beyond my expertise, but I've certainly seen it on packaging where they indicate that it can't be washed away. It's part of their promotional, and there'll be a standard listed on it. And certainly we are watching to be sure that they aren't making those false representations. But the gel pen aspect, and many will use that as, prevent against check washing. So you can look for that indicator on the packaging.
Michelle, I wanted to ask you about the time of year where we see garage sales popping up, yard sales. I've started seeing them around
Our
my
neighborhood's
neighborhood.
having a big one this week, in the whole neighborhood
really?
yard sale. Yeah.
And it's a great way to find a deal, especially if you don't mind things that are used. But at the same time, you can also find recalled products and unsafe products. I'll tell you, we had a yard sale one year, and I sold a Rock and Play sleeper, and I felt horrible when I found out like a week later that it was recalled, and I didn't know who bought it, and I couldn't track down this person. I didn't see it when it happened.
It's a scandal. The
But I felt
Consumer
bad.
Report is selling recalled items at a garage sale.
It was. I felt really bad about it. But Michelle, that kind of thing can happen, right?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, just given my history with product safety. And at Consumer Protection, we're really wanting to bring awareness for individuals so they don't bring hidden hazards into their home. And that's exactly what it is. You don't have awareness when you're selling the product that it could be recalled since you've purchased it. And now the individual bringing it into their home doesn't have that awareness of the recall. And so it's just sitting there as this hidden hazard to the individuals in the home, whether it be the user or everyone living there. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission recalls products on an annual basis. I mean, daily. They have different products that range from the rechargeable batteries for different products to toys to child and nursery care products. So we want people to have this awareness when they are out there looking for those great deals to get and reuse different products and keep them out of the landfill. But check them before you make the purchase and certainly before you enter it into the household for these different types of potential hazards. And they can be anything from flammability, electrocution, choking hazards, strangulation, unsafe amounts of lead or other chemicals in products, loose magnets, small batteries, even lack of warning labels on a product to bring awareness to an issue. And I don't want people to think it's a lost cause because a product is recalled. Some have repair kits, and maybe that seller has gone ahead, had awareness of the recall, gotten the repair kit, and everything is safe and fine. But maybe you purchased it, you see there's a repair kit. Now you can get it, and the product will be perfectly fine for you. And some just need to be returned to the manufacturer.
How can I check? Can I go online? There's got to be a website, right? Can I check
Absolutely.
right when I'm at the rummage?
There's an app and a website. So you can go to saferproducts.gov. Just make sure you have a link, hooked up on your mobile device when you're out there this weekend in the neighborhood doing that shopping, or download the Consumer Product Safety Commission's app. And then you can search products by manufacturer. You can search by product type or category. So if you are targeting, let's say, a crib, then you can be sure you have awareness of all the crib recalls that are out there. And you can just check it out again and bring it to the seller's attention as well, because like Jenna said, they don't want to be selling these products and endangering somebody.
I also wanted to ask you about something we hear about at Contact 6 all the time, which is issues with mechanics and motor vehicle repairs. I mean,
one of the most common complaints.
Every week. So how can people choose a good technician and just avoid getting ripped off? Should they be aware of their rights in certain situations?
Yeah, one of the first things you can do as a consumer is have awareness about your vehicle. That's just using all your senses. And what I mean by that is listen to it as you are driving it. How does it feel when you stop, turn corners? What's the base mode? Get your baseline with your vehicle. Use your eyes, check and see if there are things leaking and leaving marks on the driveway. And is it emitting particular smells that it didn't used to? Use those senses as that baseline. This is the normal for my vehicle. That way, when you find that mechanic that you want to work with, you are in a better position to describe the situation that you are experiencing and help them help diagnose the problem that you have, because that can really save on expenses. But you need to find that mechanic. So talk to friends, family, insurance companies, and see who they use and if they are satisfied. Check with Consumer Protection to see if we've had complaints. Check the Better Business Bureau to see if they've had complaints. And I know that they rate companies, so you can evaluate if it's someone you want to have a relationship with, and go there for a simple issue. Maybe it's just that oil change, so you can develop that relationship and really test and feel how things are going. And then know your rights, as you mentioned. And that can be done by getting our fact sheets on auto repair. But understand that if you drop a vehicle off without any face-to-face contact, after hours drop off, that you want to indicate that you want them to call you before proceeding with any repairs, because you have the right to authorize repairs up to a particular dollar value. Otherwise, if you don't indicate you want to give that authorization, they can charge you whatever it is to make those repairs. And they can hold your vehicle until you pay for all authorized repairs. And so this becomes a really important issue when things start to get out of control as it relates to major repairs.
I want to ask you a question that's not about any of these specific topics, but I want to, because we have Jenna sitting here. We talk about consumer issues all the time. And obviously Contact 6 has been around for a long, long time. And they help consumers in a very similar way to what DADCAP does. But there are some differences too. I mean, obviously with Contact 6, one of the sort of great leverages, I guess, you have to try to get businesses to participate and cooperate is the potential for exposure on television. And in some businesses, maybe that otherwise might not resolve something, might feel a little more likely
they'll
to do
at
so.
least pay attention to it.
They'll pay attention. There's certainly. Tell me about, from a consumer standpoint, what is the benefit of going to DATCAP versus going to Contact 6? Are there some differences there?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. And at the top of the segment, talked about that partnership that we have. We have that partnership with the media contact complaint centers, as well as the Better Business Bureau, because we're the state consumer protection. So we are charged by the legislature to enforce the state's consumer protection regulations that are in place. So we have more than 60 state statutes and administrative codes that say these are a consumer's rights in Wisconsin as it relates to specific issues and topics: auto repair, landlord tenant, home improvement, billing issues, unfair billing, telecommunications, so your cell phone, a whole spectrum of issues. And so when we receive a complaint, we are trying to help the consumer resolve it individually through our written complaint mediation process. But we're also analyzing the issue against the law to say, did this company follow the law? Is everything that's required in a contract for a home improvement transaction present in that contract? And then we work with the business and bring attention to those potential violations, if you will, and say, this transaction didn't follow the law. We need you to come into compliance. And then we have a progressive enforcement philosophy from there based on patterns and trends that we see in the marketplace. And this isn't just for consumers. It's about that balanced marketplace, so all businesses have a fair advantage with one another and are playing on the same field, if you will.
I know over the years we've done stories here at Fox 6 about trends that you see, maybe one business that is showing up again and again, violating the law. And ultimately, when you go through that progressive enforcement you talked about, this can actually end up with the Department of Justice filing, taking legal action against these businesses, right?
Absolutely. They are one of our partners. So we are consumer protection, mediate the complaints, conduct that investigation. But once we have a case that we have put together, we can request an action be brought on behalf of the state to either the district attorney, if it's a regionalized or local issue, or if it's, on behalf of the entire state, we will go to the Department of Justice as one of our partners to proceed. And then we'll work with them throughout that investigation and enforcement matter to that resolution, whether it's negotiated or has to be tried in court.
One of the first big cases I worked on when I got here, stories, was a dating service called Great Expectations. And we did a number of stories, and a lot of complaints were generated out of that. And almost all of those people who came to us then filed complaints with consumer protection. Ultimately, that led to an action by the Department of Justice, and they ran Great Expectations out of town. They also, I believe, got a pretty hefty judgment. So when you talk about partnerships, sometimes it might start with the media exposure, and then it leads itself to enforcement.
Yeah, absolutely. And, those cases brought on behalf of the state, what that really means is we are trying to make sure that the business corrects their actions or no longer conducts business in our state if it's not going to be in compliance. But part of that is also to try and get restitution for those individual consumers. Sometimes that's possible, and we're able to get them those refunds in a portion or all of their money back from that transaction. And other times we're unable to do that because of the type of interaction they have. There might not have been a complete financial loss that we can identify. So then we seek injunctive terms, and that is that corrective behavior as part of that settlement, where they're going to have maybe some additional things that they need to do beyond the law to make sure that they are going to be doing things appropriately in our state on behalf of consumers.
obviously a lot of overlap between what you do. I mean, so Jenna, you and Michelle are quite familiar, I imagine, yeah?
Oh, I talk to DatCap at least once every week, every couple of weeks. I email with you guys constantly, and they constantly appear in our stories. So I appreciate your availability to us as well and sharing your resources with
Is that
us.
what the red phone is in your office? You look it up and it's a direct line to DatCap.
That's right.
Phone.
I got to call DatCap.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on Open Record. If you'd like to stick around, after the break, we're going to go off the record. It gets a little more casual. You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to go. But either way, thank you so much for joining us for this segment here on Open Record.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we will go off the record. And it is time for us to go off the record. This is the part of the podcast where we get a little more casual, have a little fun by answering a question for which we have done absolutely no preparation because we don't know what Sarah has. But what are you going to ask us today, Sarah?
There are certain stories that run in our newscasts that feel like a personal attack. This is one of them. Did you know most Americans say you stop being cool at a certain age? What age?
What age do you stop
Do
being
you
cool
think?
at?
Now, I'll tell you. Well, do you want me to tell you what the survey found, or do you want to
Should we guess first?
Well, you could
Yeah,
guess, or maybe
let's
when
guess.
you felt uncool.
I mean,
what age?
I felt uncool around the time I became a parent. So probably like, I don't know, 30. I feel like in terms of like...
you
well, like,
peaked early, Jenna.
I don't feel cool anymore. I can tell you that. But like in terms of like, if I met like a teenager, would they think I'm cool? I definitely not
I don't
cool
know.
to my cousins anymore.
You know what the hard part about this is for me? I don't know that I've ever felt cool. I mean,
Brian.
but no, I mean,
I thought you were gonna be like, I'm
that's sort
still
of, there's
cool.
a, like, I've never been like I know I'm cool. Like, but I think it probably means like if you're with
keeping
it,
up with the trends,
So is
keeping
this
up with
how
the times.
the world
you know
views
that-
it or as I view it?
I don't know.
Because I know some pretty cool people who are like 65, 70, you know, you could be cool at any age. But like in terms of the world,
yeah.
Does it say the age range of people who are polled for this question?
It just
Good
says,
question.
no, I don't think so. No, this just says what age.
Because one view of it is to say like, okay, if I go out to the bars, which I don't really do very often anymore, but
Yeah.
if I do, I mean, it's been a long time since I felt like anybody looking was like, hey, who's this guy? Like, you know, they're like, what is the old guy doing here? You know, so
Yeah,
so,
right,
so
right.
that's, you know, I think you passed like 28 and you're done there now. But cool, like you said, with the music of the times, with it. Here's the thing: if you start using slang, like if I were to say slay, I'm long past that. But if you can say it and get away with it, then maybe you're still in the cool zone. So I'm gonna say, I think this isn't what I think they said. This is what I think.
Yeah.
What you
I
think?
think after about 35.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
thinking.
think
like
after
35.
about 35, you maybe are no longer cool to younger than 30.
Right. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But
Oh,
I think you can still be cool to people in the 30s and
Oh,
40s.
absolutely.
I think it's a sliding scale.
Tail, I'm over 50 and I am super cool to people in my age group. Absolutely.
See? There you go.
Maybe not. But yeah.
I will tell you
It
that
is all
this
perspective.
survey found that a person is out of touch and uncool by the age of 39. So basically, it's
Well,
just not
July for me. Goodbye.
not up on the new trend.
literally my age. That's cool. That tracks for me.
Yeah.
So you're still cool for now.
I-
But next year,
Next year.
Let me
40.
just also say that I also found this article. I think it was a tweet at first, and I felt again attacked. Gen Z has officially canceled ankle socks and says, "quote They're for old people."
I wear ankle
So,
socks.
me too. Okay, so they say
wait, what
if you go,
qualifies as an ankle sock?
like
Just-
this.
Wait,
Okay, so
the
that you
no
can
show
barely
socks.
see.
No-show
Okay, no
socks.
show.
So
or
what are you
barely.
supposed to wear
So am
then?
I supposed to wear
No,
up to
all
my
the cool kids, all the kids are wearing like those crew cut ones.
Oh,
that
so
go
you
up-
have to show your socks
Yes.
now.
So if you go to
Yeah,
the
but
gym,
that's like any style. That'll go out
it
in
says
no
if
time.
you go to the gym, you can tell who is over the age of whatever they say, 30 or something.
You know what? You're
Basically,
right. I see the tall socks at the
They
gym.
wear them over like leggings. They wear
You're right.
them.
Yeah, okay.
They wear them all
How
the time.
tall are
You know
we
what, though?
talking? Like mid calf?
Like mid calf. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to wear ankle socks in defiance. I want to
love
look
them.
like my age. That's part of it too. Is if I show up at the gym
Yeah.
now with some Reeboks or whatever
I
it
look
is
like a
that's
fool.
cool, and I pull them up to my
Yeah.
socks up to my calf, they're going to go, "What's the old man doing, trying to look young?"
Yeah.
And
I
if
don't
I'm
know. Look
going on
up
a
the
run in
Corvette
my
dad
neighborhood?
look.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked up the
White-
Corvette, Dad?
with
It's
your
like
white
New
New
Balance, white socks
Yeah.
up to the ankles,
Yeah.
tan cargo shorts.
What does the
Awesome.
Subaru Forester dad wear?
But like
You're probably
seriously,
drinking
what am I supposed to
kombucha.
wear running around my neighborhood? Like socks up halfway up my leg?
I don't know.
Maybe they're my compression socks.
Compression socks are cool. What do you know? That's awesome.
Oh man.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm gonna show up to the next podcast in ankle socks and still not being cool. We will take one more break. We'll wrap things up when we come right back. Yeah, I just folded laundry yesterday,
Yeah.
and I have probably 15
400
pairs of ankle socks.
I have so many.
Now, right now, I'm wearing socks that are pulled up, but it's because it's a little more of a business casual
Yes,
look.
yeah.
Sure.
I wouldn't wear ankle socks for that, but I'm not showing up to the gym with the socks pulled up to
Me
my
neither.
calves because
Let me be uncool.
I'm not 25 or younger. Anyway, if you have a topic you would like us to discuss on Open Record or an issue you think we should investigate for FOX6 News, send us an email to fox6investigators@fox.com. Thank you, Sarah, as always.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenna. This was a good episode. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And I'm not going to use my wire grill brush anymore. I have to go come up with some
Yeah.
other kind of an alternative. And now I have to go check my grill grates, too, because I just...
Yeah.
That's right.
So, as always, thank you to the people who make this possible, including our editor, Dave Machuda, and our chief photographer, manning the video switcher, Kale Zimney. With that, I'm Brian Polson. We'll be back next week.